The Monsters of Midway will start in this year's rendition of HBO's Hard Knocks. The NBA Finals are set. The Cubs drop a big series in Cheesetown. The White Sox, that and the return of our queen. That and a whole lot more. It's the Friday edition of Second City Sports. The last one for the month of May starts right now. Welcome to another fun-filled Friday edition of Second City Sports. Friday Fun, the last one for the month of May. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago, along with Mr. Keem McGee, which is she. I am Sydney Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow Keem McGee on the Twitter, X, and Q Screen the IG.
Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinion during our 2-hour extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show, you can always hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. Look in and we'll get them up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, I've given Lakina full powers to give you fools to be a boot.
Toodles.
But before we begin, we must remind you can catch Sports Zone Chicago live in their living color right now on Roku TV. That's right. So celebrate the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. If you already have a Roku television, just tap on the sports folder and download that Sports Zone Chicago app. If you don't have a Roku television, but you have some handheld devices laying around, iPhone, iPad, iTouch, your Chromebook, or your PC, your Android, just head up to Google Play Store and download that Roku TV app and access Sports Zone Chicago through that avenue. So no more excuses. Celebrate the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Live and on demand.
Anytime, anywhere.
And you know we will provide.
And we were going to provide you with some of the best in this last Friday in June here on Second City Sports. Of course,
In May.
Yes, of course, the finals are set. The NBA finals are now officially set. Things are getting a little bit interesting in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Our girl Christine Manika is back from KXRB. She's going to join us to talk about the latest sports happenings and a whole lot more, some sports media news as well, everything in between. But first, some big news came down the pike yesterday. It dropped, I would say, probably about 1/4 to maybe a little bit before 4. The Bears are going to be appearing on the upcoming season of HBO's Hard Knocks. Yes, after debating, there were some leaks. Some people say it was going to happen. Some people say it wasn't going to happen. But HBO and the NFL made it official yesterday. So, of course, with the Bears going to be starting early, since they're going to be playing the Hall of Fame game in early, I think late July, early August, I should say. It's going to be interesting to see how all this kind of flows. Of course, you have the number 1 pick in Caleb Williams. A lot of buzz about the Bears, and how they'll improve this year. So, Sid, what do you think about the news, and what do you think how this is going to fall for the Bears?
Just a footnote for those of you that are going to be, there'll be many Bears fans who's going to they are going to tune in for the first time to Hard Knocks. I know it hasn't been good, in my opinion, since the original year in 2001 with the year after the Baltimore Ravens won the Super Bowl. I know many Bears fans, the ones that are going to tune in for the first time. Just a footnote: the team that's going to be on Hard Knocks, they control the content, not the NFL, not HBO. One more again, as young folks would say, the team that's on Hard Knocks for that particular year, they control the content, not the NFL and not HBO. But with that being said, Lakina, I love this. You know why? Why? I want to see how George McCaskey, if he gets any camera time at all, I'm sure he will. But what's he going to say? What's he going to do? And what's he going to try to hide from the public? Many Bears fans that pay attention doesn't already know. Number two, how much camera time that Kevin Warren's going to get, because he's the first president, African American president of the Bears organization, and you know as well as I do right now, the Bears are trying to get a new stadium deal. How much of that messaging they're going to control on this program? I know that's not going to be the main story line, but it's going to be one of the storylines, or to go insert a subtle message to particular individuals about getting a new stadium on the lakefront. We shall see. And number three, how much camera time both Caleb Williams and Matt Eberflus will get. Both of those guys are going to dominate this training camp. We'll go some through the other storylines as well, but I'm interested in seeing these three factors: owner Georgia McCaskey, Kevin Warren, and of course Matt Eberflus and Caleb Williams. Both those guys are going to compete for camera time, whether people want to hear it or not.
See, for me, I think I kind of see this twofold. Look, I get it. Of course, there's a lot of buzz about the Bears. Of course, you got Caleb Williams. Of course, DJ Moore. You got, Roma Dunze. Of course, you also got Torrey Taylor. Of course, the kicker from the Bears drafted from Iowa. They've got the guys on defense. Jalen Johnson. So we just see how much he's featured and such. So how much content will we actually see? Well, like you said, the Bears will control it. So you wonder how much we're actually going to see. It may end up being like the most boring thing, and probably the history of the series. But here's another thing that I want to remind Bears fans: like, look what happened to the Jets last year. All the buzz and stuff, we saw what happened. Remember the Cardinals? I know it was in season, but remember the Cardinals from a couple of years ago. I also add the Colts from also in season, but it was from a couple of years ago. So yeah, this could end up being twofold. Like, it's not a good record for teams who appear on Hard Knocks, whether it's preseason or in season. So I would say for all the Bears fans, like you said, who want Bears to kind of show to be on Hard Knocks, and that's why I'm sure George McCaskey's misgivings about it. Be careful what you wish. This is gonna be one of those be careful what you wish for type of thing. So I would just caution Bears fans what might happen.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago on the hashtag Fun Friday Fun Edition, the last one for the month of May. Sailor Kenny here with you, discussing the Chicago Bears. Coming up, there will be on Hard Knocks, in the first episode will start airing on Tuesday, August the 6th on HBO and HBO Max for the streaming folks. Lakina, you mentioned the punter, the rookie punter, out of Iowa, I believe that you said. I wanted to ask you, who you think will be some other breakout stars that deserve some shine, because we already know the storyline about the head coach and the quarterback. We just covered that, but there's going to be a guy or two that's off the street, having that quote unquote Kurt Warner story about working in a grocery store, working in some factory. He's on his last legs trying to make the team. We all know that storyline's in place, but who, in your opinion, that not too many people are talking about, that could be a breakout star on this show?
Maybe Kieran Amadage from Yale. Of course, he grew up in Hinsdale, went to Hinsdale Central High School. He might be somebody. I know. Apparently his dad and Coach Lewis are pretty tight. They've been golfing, so he could end up being a breakout star. Austin Booker, perhaps the edge rusher they got from Kansas. I mean, that he could probably be maybe he could probably be a breakout star. So yeah, I think there are some chances. Even Cole Kmet. I know, we know how we see a little bit of his personality. Of course, he appears on he's appearing on CHGO with our buddies there for the last couple of years. So we may see him be kind of a breakout star. But there's always kind of like that. That one guy that probably will kind of come out of nowhere. So Keenan Allen. I mean, look, we know that he's it'll be interesting to see how kind of like his mindset is after being traded to Chicago. Montez Sweat. I mean, there are actually some guys that probably could become breakout stars that might come out of nowhere. You might see guys that, they might see a different side. So it's like I said, it's always going to depend on what they show, and that's going to be the wild card.
Yeah, you took one of my guys in Montez Sweat. I'm glad you brought up a good point because he's even though he's a young veteran, he's one of the faces of that defense, especially on that defensive line. They're expected to do great things this year. But I got a couple other guys from that Bears defense that could get some shine on this program: Jaquan Brisker and Tyreek Stevenson. I think those two names that deserve some shine. We'll see how the Bears and Hard Knocks will play this. So watch out for those two names on offense. Rookie wide receiver Roma Dunze. He's going to get some shine as well. And one undercard that not too many people are talking about. Last year's first round pick, Darnell Wright.
I mean, he veteran, of course, played at Tennessee. So yeah, he could brought another guy that might, another young guy that might get some time as well. Perhaps maybe Kyler Gordon. So we gotta wonder, he's gonna want some big money. So you gotta think, maybe his training regimen, that might be featured as well. So yeah, I think there are a lot of ways they can go with this. Like I said, it'll be interesting to see if this becomes a distraction or natural distraction with all the buzz and whatnot. I mean, could this see pretty good ratings, of course, with ratio through Max and their streaming? Yeah, I can kind of see that. But like I said, it could end up being, something that comes back to bite them in the butt. So we'll have to wait and see. We'll see in August, August 6th when it premieres. So it's going to get a little bit interesting. Of course, like we said, they're going to be the first team to come to training camp because of the fact that they're going to be playing the Hall of Fame game. So that's going to be interesting to see how kind of all of that sort of shakes out. So a lot of the stuff will be decided within the next couple of months.
I don't know if this comment will come back to bite this player in the butt, but I'm sure this will be brought up in one of the first two episodes. You brought up his name earlier, Jalen Johnson. Remember, and he said before the draft that he didn't want Caleb Williams to come in with that Hollywood stuff and potential distractions that they may cause to divide the team. I wonder, as you mentioned, if I want to predicate by saying if he tries to take time, I'm not saying take time away from Caleb Williams, but how much time that he wants to get or he could get, because as I said at the top, Caleb Williams and head coach Matt Eberflus, they want to get most of the attention, whether people like it or not. Jalen Johnson just got paid this offseason. I'm sure he wants to show people that he has a personality and he's one of the top defensive backs in the league. How much camera time that he wants and how much camera time he's going to seek. Because you could have told Caleb Williams, because he's a rookie, that you don't want him bringing all that Hollywood stuff in the locker room. If Jalen Johnson is shown close to or more than Caleb Williams, that may be a problem.
Well, and I always say that don't say anything that's going to come back to bite you in the butt in general. Like, oh, we're going to go stay at 17, or we're going to beat the Packers bus or the Lions bus. Like, don't say that kind of stuff, because other teams watch it around the league. They say they don't, but they do. And you don't want to kind of make some silly, proclamations or silly, comments that come back to bite you in the butt as well. You don't want to go on YouTube and have, maybe you have someone that can sing, maybe somebody that's a good dancer, or someone maybe like wants to maybe, do some, I don't know, do like maybe an engineer or somebody, or do some fashion designing or whatever. So you may see those type of storylines there. But like I said, the comments, try to keep it cordial, try to keep it fun. Just don't say anything stupid in general.
Yeah. Just a reminder, Bears fans, the first episode of HBO's Hard Knocks, the 2024 training camp edition featuring the Chicago Bears, the Charter franchise, will debut on Tuesday night, August 6th on HBO and HBO Max on the streaming service.
We're going to Diamond coming up next as the Cubs lose a tough series in Milwaukee. The Sox give the Cubs any help this weekend against the Brewers? Probably not. The rest of baseball and a whole lot more. A good week for California teams as well. So we'll talk some time coming up next to Keenan McGee, Cindy Brown, Second Seed Sports on Sports of Chicago. Baseball talk coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I needed for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks? They can be a real lifesaver.
And I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on this fun Friday edition, the last one for the month of May. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. If you want to follow yours truly, and you should, you can follow me on SidKid80 on the Twitter and the IG. Once again, that's at SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow my Keenan McGee on the Twitter, X again, going to get an IG.
We have less than 85 minutes left of this extravaganza we call a sports talk radio show. If you have any questions or comments for us as we talk Cubs, White Sox, and the rest of MLB, you can always hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page and Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions and comments to the comment section. Look in and we'll get them up on the screen for you.
Off to the diamond, as we said before the break. The Cubs, it was a tough series. To the Brewers, losing 3 out of 4. And yesterday was one of those games where you just like, really, Gary Sanchez, really? Gary Sanchez? Of course, he broke the tie. It was a 4-4 tie. Yosea hit a 3-1 home run to tie the game. Of course, Sanchez hit a 2-run home run to break that tie in the 8th. Of course, that sealed the win and the series for the Brewers. I'm just... Look, I know some certain pundits have said, well, this shows the Cubs are not a good team and they're not fun and blah, blah, blah. And Craig Counsell sucks and this and that. Look, I'm not going to sit here. Look, I know the Cardinals have been doing well. We'll get to them in a second. The Cubs are 1 game under 500, but like we've been saying for the last 2 weeks, no one's going to run away in this NL Central. And I think people need to kind of just take a chill pill. They play the Reds. Yes, I know the Reds swept the Dodgers at home. but they didn't have a good week last couple of days. So I'm not. This is actually could be a get right series for the Cubs, but they need to get it going. Their pitching has actually been pretty good. The hitting's been pretty good. It's just unfortunately that a lot of it is just kind of like it's just not intertwining at the moment. And I'm not gonna, then we're at the end of May, we're going into June, so I'm not gonna sit here and say, "Oh my God, they stuck. It's panic time." But they need to get look. They got winnable games coming up against the Red Sox and the Reds and the Reds and the White Sox. So let's not like push the panic button and jump off a bridge just yet.
Yesterday's game was a summary of the Cubs season up to this point. That's why they are one game below 500. Jameson Taillon gave you a decent game yesterday. 6 innings pitched, 6 hits, 3 runs, 3 earned runs, a walk in, 4 strikeouts. He wasn't a problem. The bullpen was a problem. The Cubs did show some fight in the 8th inning with that game-tying home run from Christopher Morel, who's been one of the few good power hitters this year. You would have thought that the Cubs would have had momentum tying the game up in the top of the 8th, but the bullpen gave it right up. You mentioned with Gary Sanchez with a game winner 2-run shot in the bottom of the 8th for the Brewers to take 3 out of 4 for the Northsiders. As we talked about all year, we'll talk about it here. The Cubs are consistently inconsistent. They've been surviving on the borderline with their starting pitching. The starting pitching has not been a problem, despite Kyle Hendricks going to the bullpen, despite Justice Steele being hurt early in the year. The starting pitching has not been the problem. I know Shota Imanaga was touched up the other night, but don't forget, folks, he's still a rookie, and now teams are starting to figure out it's up to him to adjust to what the opponents are doing to him. But I digress. But now with the Seiya Suzuki not performing the way he's supposed to perform, Dansby Swanson in a historic struggle to start the year for him on a personal note. This Cubs offense, as I said before, and I'll say it again, they are top 4 offense in the National League where everybody's healthy and when they have all things clicking on one cylinder. But the inconsistency on offense and their bullpen has been their Achilles heel, Lakina. Now, I know many people are talking about Craig Counsell switching in the lineup. Will that help? It may for a short term, but in the long term, I don't know that's going to be a solution. I think your biggest need right now is get a reliever. I know people are calling for Jed Hoyer and Carter Hawkins' head to make a move, but like you said, Lakina, we're going into June. Not too many blockbuster deals are made in June. Stop.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and because I've heard, like I said, certain plans. I would take a cue from our buddies, Jared Payton and Chris Boder, who did GN Sports on WGN Friends of the show. By the way, we got to get them both back on too before the Bears season starts. But they both said, and I agree with them that I think fans shouldn't panic, and I think look, you just gotta. Let's just wait till the end of June. If they're still bad by the end of June, or they're still like meandering around 500 or just below 500, then everyone can kind of freak out and say, "Oh my God, it's a lost season," whatever. But I think, look, we've seen seasons ebbs and flows. Look, even the Dodgers have had their struggles, so I think people could kind of just need to kind of just chill and like this is why Jed Hoyer and Connor Hawkins are doing what they do, and unfortunately, you guys are sitting behind your keyboards, behind your phone, so. I would just say just chill for a second. I think they're still a good team. I think they are. I think they're good. They just need to start playing like it, and I think they'll be fine. If they can get it going against these 2 winnable series against the Reds and the White Sox, they should be okay. And then they can kind of get it going as it gets a little bit tougher as we going into June.
Yeah, is this still a winnable division for Chicago? Yes, it is. But like we've been saying, they have to be more consistent. You have winnable games coming up on your schedule, and there are no excuses. I'm not going to sit here and say this weekend is a make or break series for the season for the Cubs, but this is a winnable game against a team that many, including your show, they expect to go to the playoffs. Maybe they'll turn around here, maybe they won't. But the pitching matchups are in your favorite. If you're Chicago. I know Justin Steele will pitch tomorrow against Hunter Green. That's a Saturday night game on Fox if that gets played because of the weather. But today, Javier Assad will go against Aaron Ashcroft. And then, of course, Ben Brown will pitch for the Cubs on Sunday. So, on paper, 3 winnable matchups. This team should sweep the Reds, but realistically, until I start seeing some consistency from the Northsiders, if we have time for a prediction, I'll sneak one here right now. I expect the Cubs to at least take 2 out of 3.
That's all I asked for. Just to say 2 out of 3. I know a sweep would be a bit much to ask, especially with the way the season's been playing. I'll take 2 out of 3. I'm fine with that. Listen, I can see Sports on Chicago, Lakeith McGee sitting around with you. Let's go to the South Side, talk about your White Sox now. Speaking of the Sox, I mean, will the White Sox give the Cubs a little bit of help as they go up to Milwaukee as they face the Brewers? Well, I mean, look, they went over on their homestand. And I'm gonna our buddy Joe Lazowski, who we got to get him on, because it's been a while, so we had him on from Sox on 35th, the podcast and the website. He actually, I don't know if you listened to this, and I meant to kind of share this with you before we started, but he kind of said that the maybe like a Charlie Manuel type with the managerial type thing. I know Manuel said he's retired, so but some say that maybe he might be a guy that might give the White Sox a move. But yeah, I doubt Jerry Worms was going to do anything like in season. We know he doesn't like firing coaches and managers mid season, so we've seen that from the history. The White Sox, look, they've got some good pieces. Fetty and their young guys like Corey Lee's been playing very well. I know they signed Brian Ramos back to AAA, but
why?
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. But he's been like the one consistent person. He's been hitting the ball and had a couple of big catches when he was up here. So the White Sox are just just we thought that maybe the Sox were starting to figure things out and that maybe they will lose 120 games. Now they do stuff like this. It's just a.
Like you say, Jerry Reinsdorf rarely makes dramatic moves in the middle of the season. That's why the firing of Kenny Williams and Rick Hahn came as such a shock. I believe it was a week after the trade deadline last year. So that was something that came out of nowhere. But I know I heard some of the fans chant "Bring back Ozzy" on Monday as they lost. They're on their way to losing 3 straight games against the Toronto Blue Jays, but I think you can let Pedro Grifol finish out this year because the White Sox are not going anywhere this year. White Sox were already shortchanged in terms of talent, even at full strength. So, like I say, Pedro Grifol is in over his head. When his team starts winning again, he's not going to be the manager anyway. So, but as far as this series is concerned for Milwaukee, I wish these 2 pitchers were pitching against the Cubs, but I digress. I know Eric Fetty, who struggled in his last start, he gets the bump tonight. Garrett Crochet will go tomorrow, and Nick Mastrine has been recalled from Charlotte. He'll go on Sunday for Chicago. So I know on paper it looks like the Sox can steal one of these games, which I think they will. Can they get 2? It's definitely going to be a stretch. Milwaukee's on a high right now, taking 3 out of 4 against the Cubs. You figured that, you can catch Milwaukee sneaking a couple wins because they viewed the Cubs as more important. I can see that argument because the White Sox are the lesser team and you don't play them that often. But I think the Sox will take 1 game from Milwaukee. Which one? I don't know, but I think they'll take 1 for sure.
Should be interesting though as the series start tonight. Now, what caught your eye the last couple of days in MLB as a whole?
The Houston Astros finally ended their personal, I believe it was their 6 game losing streak. They beat your Mariners. Series finale yesterday at Minnesota. We're gonna come out there and win. Nope, the Twins snatched victory from the jaws of defeat to defeat the Royals yesterday, 7-6. Series finale. You talk about a team that's having a terrible year. I know many people didn't expect them to do well, maybe a little bit better than some. But did you check out the reliever that I forget his last name, Jorge, the reliever that got tossed from the game on Wednesday against the Dodgers? He threw his mitt in the stands, and then he was asked to comment on it yesterday. On Wednesday about. He talked to Mets manager Carlos Mendoza in the media before. He said no, and the story was that he did, and then he doubled down on his actions, and he got DFA, which means he got released. So, what did you think about that whole mess?
I saw that, and I was just like, whoa. I mean, that was a And I know Mendoza kind of like Jorge Lopez, kind of threw him under the bus, and the entire team under the bus, and that just as just when you thought that maybe early on the season, the wheels have kind of started to fall off for the Mets. I mean, they they lose, they get swept by the Dodgers. They did win yesterday against the Diamondbacks in the opener of that weekend series. But you kind of wonder, like, is there frustration kind of sort of building and building? Because a lot of people thought that the Dodgers would, at the very least, challenge that NL East. But unfortunately, injuries, and now this whole thing with Lopez, it was just like a terrible display there. So you thought the '80s Mets were, at least they were winning. They were kind of able to compensate from all the weirdness and the shenanigans off the field. In this case, unfortunately, they're under they're way under 500, and then they're just not very good. So you're just like, oh gosh, what is going on here? But just awful display by Lopez a couple of days ago.
Yeah, Jorge Lopez, I can understand that frustration gets the best of us all, but you got to control yourself a little bit. You don't want to show up your teammates or the organization, but when you're not remorseful and you don't at least show a sign of being sorry for your actions, that's where he got in trouble. Not just what he did on the field that got him in trouble, but what he said or didn't say after the game to the media, and that's what got him DFA. Will he be picked up by somebody else? I'm sure when all this dies down, but it was just not a good look. And what you did or didn't do in front of the media at following the Wednesday's loss against the Dodgers, that was his last straw.
Yeah, just show a little bit of contrition, and unfortunately that he didn't do that. So that's why, of course, he's no longer with the Mets and no longer the team, at least for right now. Well, will that change in a couple of weeks when all this kind of settles down? We'll see. Now, speaking of the Dodgers, they swept the Mets 4 games. So for all those folks that were worrying and panicking that they got swept by the Reds, well, they sweep the Mets, and now everything's fine now. Okay, now everything's good. All right, good. So it looks like maybe the Dodgers are kind of like they needed that little like pick me up. So maybe in a way this is a good thing. So it's gonna get a little bit interesting to see, because Mookie Betts been playing very well, so has Shohei, of course, and it's gonna get a little bit interesting to go, because I guess if you're Dave Roberts, that's a good problem to have when you have all these guys that can hit and that can pitch. The pitches starting to kind of figure things out a little bit as well. So hopefully maybe this will give the Dodgers a chance to kind of take off and run away with this division as expected.
Into they has some light opponents on their schedule coming up as well with Pittsburgh. I believe Colorado this weekend. We'll get to the weekend schedule coming up in a few minutes. But as we talked about before the season started, people expected this Dodgers team just to dominate and roll over everybody. Maybe that'll eventually happen, but these guys needed to figure each other out and get some chemistry going, especially dealing with the whole Shohei former interpretive foolishness to start the year. After the first few weeks in April, they started to get it together. You mentioned with this being swept at Cincinnati, that's just a bump in the road. They got back on track by sweeping the Mets in New York, and I don't see too many problems with this Dodgers team right now. I'm not saying they're perfect. No team is perfect. Every team has flaws, but for the Dodgers is just getting back to consistency, getting back to playing winning baseball, and that's where they're doing right now. Even though it's against a lesser opponent in the Mets are dealing with this week, you got to start somewhere.
Well, yeah, and look, they can't help with it playing their schedule. So maybe, hopefully, this will give them the confidence they can beat some of those top teams. And one of those top teams is the Padres. They beat the Marlins 2 out of 3. They did lose a rubber match on yesterday, but they do play the Royals, so that's going to be an interesting series. We'll talk about the Royals in a second, what they've been doing. But yeah, I think that the Padres are kind of like, look, they want to at least stay within like eye distance of the Dodgers. They're going to have to be a little more consistent with their hitting and their pitching.
Yeah, for the Padres is now one thing, it's another as far as being consistent. We talked about this team being consistently inconsistent, just like the Chicago Cubs. If they start pitching is rolling, the hitting is failing. If the offense starts to roll, then it's the bullpen or the back end of the starting rotation that's not picking up their weight. It's all about consistency for the Padres. If they just get one good hot streak going, make this NL West race a little bit more interesting than people expected.
The Giants are kind of coming up a little bit as well, so we'll see if they can kind of get it going here. Now let's go to the back to Central. Of course, we talked about the Cardinals. The Cardinals beat the Reds 2 out of 3. Now the Cardinals, some people thought that they were going to win the division, so they're starting to kind of get going a little bit. They've got a lot of young guys. I'm kind of wondering, of course, Matt Carpenter in his last season. That's going to be interesting to see what he does. They're over 500 for the first time in 6 weeks because they've had their struggles. So, what do you think about the Cardinals? Can they stay right there and this is with the Brewers and the Cubs?
It's going to be tough right now. They're just on a hot streak. Talk to me at the end of June, and I think we'll have a better answer on the Cardinals. I know they're led by free agent pitcher Sonny Gray, who pitched with Minnesota for the last couple of years, and of course former White Sox starter Lance Lynn. He's had his struggles, but I want to see how that offense can sustain itself. I know Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt have both had struggled to start the year. I want to see those guys pick it up. If one of both those guys can pick it up, I think the Cardinals can be dangerous. But right now, I'm not jumping on that bandwagon just yet. I know they'll be here in a couple weeks to play the Cubs, but I want to see them play with some consistency on offense.
I agree. I just don't think they have the talent just yet. So we'll see what happens to the NL East as the second seed sports on Chicago. Keenan McGee, Steve Brown with you. Finish up our baseball talk this first hour. The Phillies, they're a little bit of a bumper bubble as people would even remember. I think they have nine of their previous 11 or something. So now they've lost 4 of their last 6. And I know they lost 2 out of 3 against the Giants, speaking of the Giants. But look, it happens. I mean, they said Nick Castellanos and Christopher Sanchez, they each had homers to help stop that little bleeding there. But look, I'm not freaking out about the Phillies just yet. I think that there's just a bump. So we're going to see if the Phillies, the pitch has been very solid. We talked about their hitting, of course, with Harper and that whole thing that happened. We talked about that already this week. Schwarber was kind of strong a little bit, but you got to think he's starting to get it going. So, yeah, I think the Phillies are kind of yes, they're a little bit of a bump, but they can take advantage of it, especially with all the injuries issues in Atlanta.
Whose fan base is more irrational, Dodgers fans or Philadelphia sports fans? That should be a poll question, but I know Philadelphia's been knocking at the. I know Philadelphia's been knocking at the door. I'm talking about the Phillies as far as the World Series is concerned for the last 2 or 3 years, but this is the best baseball team that they had since winning the National League a couple of years ago and losing to the Astros in the World Series. Like you mentioned, they have all cylinders on goal right now with the starting pitching and the hitting. But like you say, this is just a bump in the road, and they'll face a team that's trying to find themselves. So I expect Philadelphia to get back on track. We'll tell you who they're going to play in just a moment. But, you still have Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber. Don't forget about Trey Turner and JT Realmuto. They're starting catchers. So they got some boppers there. It's just that they just got to get back on track and put it all together, which I think they will do, Lakina. Will they take advantage of Atlanta? No time is the perfect time, and no time is better than right now to put yourself to further the distance between them and the Braves.
Speaking of the Braves, they lose 3 out of 4 against the Nationals. Look, I don't want to say that it's over for the Braves. I mean, look, they can go in on a hot streak. They face we'll tell you their next opponent in a little bit, but yeah, with the Acuna junior injury, he's up for the year. Of course, Strider, they already lost Strider. So yeah, it looks like the wheels are starting to fall off for the Braves.
It's clearly they're trying to get over it. The Acuna Jr. injury emotionally. They're still going to have to go out and play ball. The season's not going to stop. And for that series against the Washington Nationals, the lack of clutching did cost the Braves a couple of those games. They could have split those 4 games, but they didn't. But they got to get over Ronald Acuna Jr.'s injury. I know that sounds mean to some people, but injuries happen, and you have to move on. They just got to focus on playing baseball.
We'll see if they can figure it out, or else the Phillies might run away with the NL East. So we'll see. Going to the AL, Texas looks like they're starting to kind of get it back going a little bit. They They sweep their 2-gamer against the D-bats, and of course they kept from getting swept against Minnesota. So maybe they're starting to get healthy. Maybe they're starting to finally kind of figure things out.
Yeah, hopefully Texas. We talked about them a couple weeks ago. Their starting pitching has been terrible. Their ERA is one of the highest in baseball. It stinks because almost everybody in their rotation has either been injured or has been out since opening day in terms of injuries. So Texas, we know they have the offense. They just got to get their pitching in house in order, in particularly that starting pitching. That's what carried them last year towards the World Series title. But right now, it's battered and injured and beaten up in terms of giving up a bunch of runs. So if they can get their pitching in order, we already know they have the hitting, but if they can get the starting pitching particularly in order, I think they'll be okay because your Mariners, Lakina, even though I still believe they're the best team in the AL West, they're not going to run away with this thing. I know Houston is coming. No one's talking about them, but it's still a little bit more time for Texas to get it together. But hopefully they can take advantage of it and not say what we said about the White Sox last year. Oh, we got time. But at some point in time, it's going to start running out.
Well, the Astros did lose 3 out of 4 against the Mariners, so I don't know if they're kind of like they're coming strong just yet. Now they will tell you who they play this weekend, but yeah, I think it's gonna be interesting to see. It might end up being between those 3 teams, so we'll see what happens. Going to the AL Central, the Guardians lose a tough series at Coors Field in Denver against the Rockies. I mean, I'm not look if you're a Guardians fan, I don't think people should be too worried about the Guardians right now. I think they can kind of like get things going here. We'll talk about a team that's still within striking distance in that division in a second, but I think the Guardians are still kind of the team to beat in that Central.
Yeah, they have the best offense statistically, I believe, in the American League, next to the New York Yankees. Jose Ramirez is a top 3 AL MVP candidate. I know they starting pitching got exposed to Colorado, but who's starting pitchers that doesn't get exposed? Playing at Coors Field in Colorado with that high altitude. So they're one of the many teams that fell victim to it. And like you said, Lakina, it's the AL Central. Unlike the White Sox, everybody else is taking advantage of the fact that they play in the AL Central. So if you're a Guardians fan, you're a little concerned, but you shouldn't jump off a bridge.
Royals lose 3 out of 4 at Minnesota. So Bobby Witt Jr. has been hitting the ball very well. Ryan Jeffers homered twice to at least salvage a win in that series. But it's going to be interesting to see if both either the Royals or the Twins can kind of get it going and just keep up with the Guardians.
As I told you on our last show, the Kansas City Royals talked to me in the next month or so if I believe they're a legitimate playoff team. I know they're beating up everybody on the system of the poor, including the White Sox to start the year, but you you really get exposed when you play against better competition. And they lost 3 out of 4, as you mentioned, on the road against your divisional opponent, and that's not good. So Kansas City, they had great starting pitchers to start the year, but they got exposed in that series as well. So they got to get back to the bases with the starting pitching in their bullpen. If they could do that, I think they'll be okay. But I'm not ready to jump on that bandwagon just yet.
Real quick in the AL East, the Orioles win 2 out of 3 against Boston. So it looks like they're starting to they kind of have their struggles, but of course you sweep the White Sox and you win 2 out of 3 against the Red Sox. So that'll kind of get you back into going there. And the Yankees, they after losing the opener to the Angels, they win 2 out of 3, finishing up that particular part of their West Coast trip. So looks like it's gonna be between those two in the AL East.
Yeah, Aaron Judge is amazing, isn't he? He has, I believe, 18 home runs now, which leads Major League Baseball. He blasted that one last night to complete that series win for the New York Yankees. As I said it before, and I'll say it again, Luis Gil has been a surprise to that starting pitching staff. He's making you forget about Garrett Cole being hurt right now. Carlos Rodon and Nestor Cortez, both of those guys in that starting rotation have both turned it around, and they've finally gotten some run support finally. But if Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton stay healthy, this Yankees team could be a little bit more dangerous. You saw what the impact of Juan Soto has had already.
Yeah, definitely, and they could be dangerous too. So, and Gil might be one of the leaders in the clubhouse for the AL side. I know it's a little early to be talking about that, but he's definitely, at least so far, he's been unhittable. Let's go to this weekend series real quick. Of course, we talked about Cincy at Wrigley. They're about to start in about 20 minutes. St. Louis and Philadelphia. That should be a fun series. Tampa Bay and Baltimore, two teams. That should be a interesting series as well between two AL East rivals. Pittsburgh and Toronto. A little interleague action there. You've got the Diamondbacks and the Messy Mets. I gotta tell our buddy Ryan Field from ABC7 New York. I gotta tell him they can use that little thing with the Messy Mets there, and of course Detroit and Boston. That game for those of you in Detroit and Boston, that game will be on Apple.
Hashtag Messy Mets.
Yes, Detroit and Boston. The first game of that series will be on Apple TV Plus. Just a special note to all of you Tigers and Red Sox fans in Detroit and Boston.
Finishing out the rest of the weekend schedule in Major League Baseball, Texas will visit Miami to take on the Marlins. Washington will face Cleveland. Oakland will visit Atlanta to take on the Braves. The White Sox and the Brewers will do battle in Milwaukee. Minnesota will visit Houston to play the Astros, or the Trash Stros, as Sean Sierra would say. San Diego will visit Kansas City. The second game of the Apple TV Plus doubleheader for tonight is the Anaheim Angels visiting La Seattle Mariners. And the rest of the schedule looks like this. Colorado will play the Los Angeles Dodgers, and the New York Yankees will face the San Francisco Giants. Your Fox Saturday baseball game of the week are as follows. Most of the country will get the Cardinals and the Phillies, while those of you in the Midwest, including here in Chicago, rain permitting, weather permitting, I should say, will get the Cubs facing the Cincinnati Reds. And on ESPN Sunday Night Baseball will have the St. Louis Cardinals at the Philadelphia Phillies.
And also for those out the West Coast, you'll get the Angels and the Mariners out west. So you might be getting that game. Those of you here in Chicago, especially the weather because of the issue tomorrow night in that Reds Cubs game.
The Fox broadcast, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes, just in case you may get that. You might get those Cardinals Phillies too, probably more likely. But it'd be nice if I could get the. But yeah, I've got.
Oh,
no, go ahead.
And one more note for those of you looking for Sunday afternoon baseball on Roku TV, this Sunday at noon will feature the Minnesota Twins and the Houston Astros. That game will start at noon Central Standard Time.
It should be a fun matchup there as they finish up that series.
And that's your schedule for Major League Baseball for this weekend.
All right, hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 coming up here on Second City Sports on Sports Social Chicago. We'll preview the NBA Finals as that is now set. We'll do a little bit of that hockey as well as things are getting interesting in one of the conference finals. And of course, our girl Christine Manika from KXRB with all the sports happenings as we catch up with her. Lakina McGee, City Brown, Second City Sports on Sports Social Chicago. More fun on hour 2 coming up right after this.
No, I don't know though. I'm scared. I mean, you're so
Do you know that you're in my lane? No, not at all. Are you not paying attention? Are you texting? I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6. It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention. I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Move it!
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports, the Friday edition. This is our last one for the month of May. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. If you want to follow yours truly on the social media streets via the Twitter and the IG, you do so at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
And he's not on Facebook, folks. So for those of you who are wondering about that, Sid is not on Facebook. So if you see any friend requests from him, do not accept it. You can follow my Keenan McGee on the Twitter, X, and KXRB on the IG.
We have less than 50 minutes left of this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. You can always hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. And just a daily reminder, you can catch Sports Zone Chicago live in the living color right now on Roku TV.
The NBA Finals are now set. It'll be the Dallas Mavericks who are going for the third time. Of course, the last time was in 2011 when, of course, head coach Jason Kidd was a player. They did win that series. And it's going to be interesting. I guess, of course, the Celtics, they were just there a few years back. The Mavs just hammered the T-Wolves 124-103. It was basically the game was over like halfway through the first quarter. 24 points by Luka in that first quarter, and it was basically it only got worse from there for the it got worse from there for the T-Wolves. Of course, Luka won Western Conference MVP. They become just as he and Kyrie became the second duo to score. D scored 35 plus points while clinching a spot in the NBA Finals. They joined Elgin Baylor and Jerry West. Happy belated birthday to Mr. West, by the way. His birthday was a couple of days ago. They did it, back in 1962. So, Sid, were you surprised that they were able to win so convincingly in Game 5?
A little bit, but not too surprised because the hardest thing to do in professional sports is win the closeout game. The Dallas Mavericks found that out on Tuesday night rather, and they weren't able to get it done. Minnesota played with more urgency, and that's how they got the job done. But last night, the Dallas Mavericks showed their experience. They put their pedal to the metal. They did not let up, and that's why we end up seeing the dominant performance from Luka Doncic. You saw Kyrie Irving do his thing, but I want to talk about some of the role players for the Dallas Mavericks that the stats don't jump out at you on the stat sheet, but it's very important that these key guys get their props. PJ Washington, 12 points and 7 rebounds, a plus 17 rating. Daniel Gafford, one-time Chicago Bull, plus 26 rating with 11 points and 9 rebounds. And off the bench, Max Kleber, yes, he had 3 points, but also too, you look at Derrick Jones Jr. plus 11 rating, 5 points in 2 rebounds and 2 assists. He had some key plays in that second quarter as well. So we talk about Luka, we talk about Kyrie, but it's been a total team effort for the Dallas Mavericks team all season long. And you saw that last night as they had another closeout situation in Game 5. This time they got it done.
Yeah, Derrick Jones Jr. outplayed Luka Doncic. I mean, Rudy Gobert, which I don't think anybody thought. We know that our buddy Big Dave Watson, of course, the CHGO Bulls friend of the show. We know he's a big Gafford fan, and he did outplay Rudy Gobert at the forward position. So it's just like I said, it was basically yes, it was Luka and Kyrie, but it was also the rest of that Mavericks squad and the supporting cast there. So they definitely kind of showed you why they were the best team. They were the top 4 teams in the West. Now, as far as Minnesota's concerned, I mean, look, Cat had his best showing, 28 points. Of course, Anthony Edwards had 28 points. Gobert wasn't a factor. McDaniels wasn't a factor. He had his struggles. Naz Reid, who was usually the reliable one, Doncic was able to kind of tame him, and so did Kyrie. So if you're Minnesota, you really need like that third person to kind of, you need somebody to help out. And unfortunately, I know some people say maybe move Cat during the off season. I know some people say maybe have him and Zach LaVine do a trade there to have Zach LaVine go back to Minnesota. That's where he first started his NBA career. I don't know, but yeah, they need somebody to kind of help Ant out. And no shade to Mike Conley. Look, he is still shown a lot of stability. He still has not been called for a technical foul in his long career, but I just don't think he's kind of like that guy. So they're gonna have to make some big changes. Now they're still young. They're still the youngest. They were one of the youngest teams in the league this season. Also, too, of course, Fitch is still only 54, so that's still pretty young by NBA coaching standards. So it'll be interesting to see what they do here.
Yeah, Minnesota, as I talked about with Dallas, you saw their experience come through last night. You saw the inexperience of the Minnesota Timberwolves, as you just pointed out. I think Anthony Edwards will get better. You saw the types of defenses that teams threw at him in the playoffs. He did his best to adjust, but I think with the experience, he's going to overcome that in due time. What do you do with Karl Anthony Towns? We'll see. Rudy Gobert, he is what he is, especially at the stage of his career. When you mentioned Mike Conley, he's an ageless veteran. He still can give you something, but he's not the prime player that he once was several years ago. So I still like this young core for Minnesota, but as we said before, we'll keep saying it until the start of next season. The competition, especially in the West, is going to get tougher, and Minnesota's front office has got to be smart here. What would you get if you did move Karl Anthony Towns? Would you get equal value in return? We don't know. Because in professional sports, too, also, you cannot pay everybody. So a couple of people are going to have to go. If they don't have to face that decision this summer, I guarantee you they're going to have to face it next year, especially if they don't meet expectations of getting back to the Western Conference Finals or going to the NBA Finals.
Well, look, you saw, you thought that when they made to Western Conference Finals in 2004, people thought, it was going to be, there's going to be kind of like a trend here. It didn't happen. Look, it took them 20 years to get back there. So you don't want to wait another 20 years if you're Minnesota. So you're going to have to maybe make some tough decisions. So we'll see what they can do. And we'll see if they can kind of get it going here. They've got some must for. They got to figure things out. As I can see sports on Sports Social Chicago, Keenan McGee, Steve Brown with you. Let's preview the NBA Finals, Sid. It'll start next Thursday on ABC. So it'll be Mavs versus the Celtics. You got experience versus, guys there. Kyrie's been to, I think this is his 4th final. So he's got some experience. So he can kind of be like that leader to some of the other guys that have not, like Luka and, Gafford and those guys that don't have experience. But then you got a core group, in Boston where Brown and Tatum, they've been there a couple of times. So what do you think is going to be the key here in this final series?
One for Boston, who's going to defend Luka Doncic, at least to start off defending him, is a Drew Holiday, which I doubt. Will it be Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown? I think it could be a rotation. Excuse me. I think it could be a rotation of those guys. I think it'll be between Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown defending Doncic. Who's going to defend Kyrie Irving? It'll probably be Drew Holiday. We'll see. Number 2 for Boston, the production from their bench. I know Kristaps Porzingis is supposed to return for the series. He missed a a full month of action at the end of the regular season, and he's appeared in just in a couple of games in the playoffs thus far. We'll see how all the other players will go back to their natural roles. I want to see a production from Boston's bench. And number 3, this probably is Al Horford's last go around. We saw him with that personal historic performance in Game 1 of the 2022 NBA Finals against Golden State a couple of years ago. How much does he have left? I know that he wants that championship ring. I want to see the kind of production he has in these finals. On the flip side for Dallas, we all know that Luka and Kyrie, they're going to give their best effort, but who's going to be that third guy to step up? Scoring-wise, I'm talking about Tim Hardaway Jr. I'm looking for him to step up. P.J. Washington has been great in these playoffs thus far. I read you his stat line from last night in the closer situation against Minnesota. So I want to see who's going to be that third scorer going with Luka and Kyrie. And number 2, can the Dallas Mavericks defense rebound the basketball? We know the Boston Celtics like to do that and get out on the open floor. The Mavericks are a half-court team. I want to see them crash the boards. Dale Gafford, as we just talked about, he's been doing a great job of it so far coming off the bench. I want to see if they could do that for 48 minutes, limiting Boston to one shot.
To me, I think the bench is going to be the key here. We know that the Mavs have a pretty deep bench, like you mentioned. They've got guys there that can kind of get it going. Now we know the Celtics. I've been saying this for all season long. Their lack of depth. You need guys like Peyton Pritchard, Xavier Tillman. Those guys are gonna have to help out Tatum and White and Brown and Porzingis and Vizio, because it's probably gonna take a couple of games for Porzingis kind of get back into shape. He may not be fully 100%. So those guys, the best guys I mentioned for the Celtics are gonna have to step up and help out if they need to, and I think that's gonna be the key. I'm sure Jason Kidd. Look, he won the title for the Mavs last time they went to the playoffs. 13 years ago with Dirk and the gang. So for me, I think that's gonna be. Will it be kind of like the experience of guys being in the playoffs? Will that kind of play into a factor as well? So like I said, I think it's really going to be the supporting cast that's going to be the real key. We know Tatum and Brown and Luka and Kyrie, they're going to get their shots. They're going to get their looks and stuff, but it's really going to be the supporting cast that's going to be the biggest X factor, I think.
Speaking of another X factor, I'll go back to the Dallas Mavericks side and talk about Derek Lively. He's also been another energy spark plug coming off that Mavericks bench. He's not going to give you much scoring wise, but I love his effort, especially defensively. And he's been another spark plug, helping out P.J. Washington, helping out Derrick Jones Jr., subbing in for him coming off the bench. On the flip side, for Dallas defensively, I talked about them rebounding as a team, limiting the Celtics to just one shot. I want to see who's going to guard Jason Tatum to at least start out the game, because whoever guards Luka early, if they set the tone that it's going to be a long night for Luka, because who's going to guard Jason Tatum? Who's going to start out guarding Jason Tatum? Because if Tatum gets off early, it's going to be a long night. If Jason Tatum struggles early, I think you have a chance, and that sets your defense up perfectly if you had Coach Jason Kidd. So Derek Lively, pay attention to, and who starts out guarding Jason Tatum early. If you frustrate him early and make him have a bad shooting night, that sets up well for the rest of your defense, for the rest of your team, defensively.
These two teams played twice during the regular season. Boston did win both matchups. Now, I think Luka didn't play one of those games, so you got to think that might be a factor as well. Look, Luka's still a little bit banged up. I know he kind of was making the rounds on the post game. He kind of said he was okay, but you kind of wonder, will Boston be able to kind of expose that to try to kind of make him struggle, make him force shots. So it's going to be interesting to see if that's going to be a factor as well. Like I said, Porzingis, like I said, he may not be at fully 100%. So it's going to be interesting to see how much Ime Udoka limits, really does play him. Does he limit him? Does he pull him in the starting lineup? So that's going to be another thing that's going to be a big factor as well. So I think this should be it. Look, if you're ABC, ESPN, you don't have LeBron or KD or stuff, but these are two teams. You got the Celtics. Their historic franchise and all their accomplishments. You got Dallas, you've got Luka and Kyrie. You got stars on that squad. Mm-hmm. So if you're ABC, you're feeling pretty happy. This is probably the best matchup that you were going to get, considering all the upsets that happened or all the losses that happened early in the playoffs.
If you're the NBA, you love this matchup because you're getting two big market teams that are left in this playoff, and it's going to be set up as a storyline. Who's going to be the next face of the NBA, Luka Doncic or Jason Tatum? And we talked about it with our guy Montez Allen the other day on Wednesday's show that many people expect Jason Tatum to quote unquote take that next big seven, be that alpha dog to take over this Boston Celtics team. We'll see about that. He's a hell of a player, but what more you want him to do? As Montez said the other day, and I asked that same question, but I digress. Also, too, how big is this storyline going to be nationally? It's already picking up a little bit in Boston. I was listening to one of their sports radio stations, and they were talking about Kyrie Irving's playing experience in the Boston Celtics uniform. We remember it did not end great at all, and they called him Kyrie Irving. Yeah, how cute! I'm using air quotes here, but I digress. But I know that storyline is going to be big locally in Boston, but how big is that storyline going to be nationally? We shall see. I don't think it's going to matter once the game starts, to me personally, but we'll see how some people in the media is going to milk out that story. But I think it's a waste of time personally. But you're going to hear a lot of it between now and next Thursday night, unfortunately. And also too, everybody thinks that Boston's just going to. We'll give out our predictions on our next episode on Monday, but everybody thinks it's going to be a short series for Boston. I say not so fast. Dallas is a very good defensive team. We know what Boston can do offensively. They're still a good defensive team as well, but Dallas can bring a little bit of something I think that Boston cannot. They have a little bit more depth and better depth than Boston does. And I agree with you. It's going to come down to depth as well. I don't think too many people are going to talk about it.
Well, that's why we're here. We're going to talk about the stuff that
right.
That's why we're here. So we're going to do that. So we'll do this. We'll go through the schedule. I know people have already posted, but since the series doesn't start till next Thursday, I think everyone will have a little bit of rest before. You also want to rest be an issue too, because Boston's been off for a couple of days. By the time it starts, they get them at home. It's going to be a little over a week, and for Dallas, it's going to be exactly a week. So will rest be an issue too for either one of these teams? So like I said, we'll talk more about the playoffs, the finals, I should say, and we'll definitely get our predictions. Not till Monday, so a little bit of a teaser there. But let's do that hockey real quick. So listen to Second City Sports on Sports Chicago. Keenan McGee, Sydney Brown with you. Go into this conference finals. We'll start out in the Eastern Conference as they had theirs. They played theirs yesterday. The Panthers took the series lead against the Rangers 3-2. And it's gonna get a little bit interesting there. So yeah, for the first time in these playoffs, the Rangers are facing elimination. So this is gonna get a little bit interesting. Of course, Anton Lundell, I should say, got that game winner, and of course Sam Bennett, I should say, got the empty netter. Now Alexis Lafreniere, I should say, did score late, but it got a little bit chippy afterwards. But the Rangers just couldn't get it going. So now, I know. Look, our buddy Ryan Field from ABC7 New York said that the Rangers are kind of parallel to the Rangers squad that won in '94. Now the Rangers did lose to the Devils 4-1 in '94. Now, will we see somebody from this year's Rangers squad do the guarantee? Messi can't do it since he works at ESPN, so one of the professionals. So they're on the brink of elimination. So can they save up elimination tomorrow?
They got to do these couple of things. One, stop giving the puck away. They had 12 giveaways last night to Florida's 1. Number 2, score on the power play. I know Florida was 0 for 3, but you were 0 for 3 as well.
Yep.
Did I say more?
Yeah, that's really been the problem, the lack of power play. Now the Rangers were able to get away with it against the Hurricanes. Those last couple of games they did lose, pushed it to 6. But yeah, this has been luckily for them, Florida hasn't made them pay, but they're gonna have to get going if they want to save off elimination. So I don't know. I don't know who's going to do it. Well, I doubt Panarin's going to do it. That's, like I said, he's not that kind of guy. Maybe Goodyear does it. I don't know. But
Kreider?
maybe people love yet. Maybe he kind of talks sometimes too. So will anybody do that little guarantee? So we'll see.
Yeah, maybe Chris Kreider. I don't know, but it looks like Chesterton, their starting goalie. I think this may be a goalie game for him. I know Sergei Gravoski has looked a little bit better than him in this series so far, but it's really been the Rangers' mistakes that's been costing him in this series. I just read out the statistics from last night. So as long as the Rangers can play a clean game and force the Panthers to turn the puck over and take advantages on some mistakes and score with the man advantage. You just need one power play goal for the Rangers. I think things will be okay, but you got to clean up your own mistakes.
We'll see if they can do that. Now going to the Western Conference final, a pivotal Game 5 coming up tonight. So you got the Oilers and the Stars. What do you think about this matchup? I have a feel what you might be saying, but I'll let you go first.
I'm going with the Dallas Stars tonight because they're back at home and they haven't lost back-to-back playoff games since starting 0-2 in the first round against the Vegas Golden Knights. I know that Edmonton, they're trying to they're knocking on the door and trying to get back to the Stanley Cup final for the first time in a long time. I know Connor McDavid and the rest of that young core is trying to have redemption of what happened a couple years ago when they knocked on the door and get into the Stanley Cup final. But Dallas is the better team. And I told you, Jake Ottinger, the Dallas starting goalie, he's been the second best goalie in these playoffs in the National Hockey League. So I think it's going to be another tight game tonight. I don't think it's going to be that much scoring, but I think Dallas has all the juice and they're at home. I expect them to win.
Yeah, if you're the Oilers, you want to try to get an early start, get a quick start early. That's really the key. If you're the Oilers, you know that place is going to be rocking down there in Dallas. So you got to think that they're going to want to try to win this game. Perhaps maybe you'll be on the cusp of clinching it. So if you're the Oilers, you want to. If you're McDavid, if you're Hyman, you want to try to get to the goalie early to try to kind of make things interesting. So we'll see what happens. It should be a fun Game 5 tonight.
Yes, and Game 5 will take place from Dallas tonight at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on TNT.
And of course, we'll see tomorrow night, Game 6 for Rangers and Panthers will be at 7 o'clock on ABC. So you get to watch on ABC. So I'm glad that's the case there. Nice.
And Sunday, we'll have Game 6 of the Oilers Stars series in the Western Conference Final. That game will take place at Edmonton. That's at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time start. That game will be seen also on TNT.
We'll see who will be the clinching Game 4 and who will have to win and try to force a Game 7. And that is your schedule for this weekend in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
We have the Queen. The Queen is back. She's on deck next right here on Second City Sports. We'll get her thoughts, i.e. Christine Manika, her thoughts on the Bears making their debut on Hard Knocks and some other sports media headlines. And we'll have some fun as we always do to close out our Friday show. That and a whole lot more. She's stick and say you're listening to Second City Sports right here on Sports Chicago.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too. These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver. I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink, And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to the Friday edition of Second City Sports. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid, that's Lakina. If you want to get at me via the social media streets on the Twitter and Instagram, you can do so by going to SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. As Lakina said, I am not on it. I'm not on Facebook.
Right, exactly. No, you're not. You can follow Keena McGee on the Twitter, X, and Kids Going in the IG.
This is our last break of the show for today and for the week. So make these last minute questions or comments great. You can, if you want to do so, and we suggest you should, you can always go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
All right, we gotta, we've been wanting her to, to come back after the long holiday weekend, but now she's back. We got so much with her to talk about, so let's get her going. From KXRB, she's our girl, your girl, Miss Christine, the Queen, Manika.
Yay!
Hi guys, how are ya?
We're doing great. How are you?
We're doing good. Good. A little bit rainy over here, but we're good.
Nice. Well, not nice. It's rainy, but it could be.
It's fine. Makes everything green.
Yeah, it can be very therapeutic. So you never know. We got a lot to to catch up with you on, Christy. Let's get right to it here. Of course, the big news that came out yesterday. No, not that. The Bears are going to be doing Hard Knocks. Well, look, we talked about this the last few months. I said it wasn't going to happen. That George McCaskey would say nope. So I guess. I don't know. I guess Ryan Poles, kind of made a deal with the devil, I guess. So, what do you think about this news, and how do you think this is gonna play out on Hard Knocks for the Bears?
I honestly think that Kevin Warren is really excited about this opportunity for the Bears. It seems like he was, just from his comments and from what I've been reading, it seems like he's kind of been the whole steamroller of all this. If you think about it, he's been the one pushing the new stadium in Chicago, even though they're all looking at that option. He's been really the strong advocate behind it. And now putting the Bears on a platform like this probably boosts a lot of interest for the Bears, but also he thinks it could boost a lot of interest for a potential new stadium down the road too. So I think he sees this in a couple of different ways. And however the McCaskies feel about it, I'm sure they got a nice paycheck to say, hey, we're going to feature you guys. And my only hope is for this entire thing is them not to suck on this not double, but multi-series show. Because It would be curious to see how practices are actually going to be run now that they have a whole bunch of cameras and millions of people watching them.
As I said at the top of the show, Christine, the head coach Matt Eberflus and rookie quarterback Caleb Williams, they're going to get a majority of the camera time, and the storyline is going to be focused on those two. We already know that the storyline every year on Hard Knocks is going to feature that guy that's been working outside of sports. He's been working like Kurt Warner. He's been working in grocery stores. He's coming in to try to take that last spot. You go focusing on that veteran who's on his last legs, trying to stay on the team, whether he's going to get cut or not. Outside of Caleb Williams and head coach Matt Eberflus, you mentioned Kevin Warren too. Outside those three names that I just mentioned, who else could be on that Bears roster that could be breakout stars in Hard Knocks, in your opinion?
You got to feature Virginia McCaskey in some way just because of her legacy in football in general and the fact that, knock on wood, the woman's still walking on the planet. That's pretty amazing that even though she's not totally involved as much as what she was, she still has a little bit of say of what goes on behind her Papa Bears team. And I also think, who else would be featured? I think if they're thinking of a good up-and-coming star, I would say Cole Kmet would be a good one to feature. He is one of the best tight ends in the league, in my opinion. And I think this series is going to highlight him and his talents a little bit more. And gosh, if they're talking about someone who's going to be potentially leaving the team or on its way out, you got it with Matt Eberflus because he is literally going to be fighting for his job this entire season. And I'm sure he's going to be talking about that during Hard Knocks as well.
And with he got a movie star look now too, thanks to his wife and daughter. So you got to think that helps. What about a guy like Jalen Johnson, or Kyler Gordon? We know Brisker, Jaquan Brisker. The two guys I talked about, of course, Brisker and Johnson. They kind of tend to talk. So, what do you think? Will this kind of cause distraction with them? Of course, we know about Jalen Johnson's comments about Caleb Williams initially. So, what do you think? Will that be a distraction too, in addition to this?
No matter how you swing it, it's all a distraction. There's going to be cameras more so than normal around practice, more so around Hallis Hall, in the locker room. There's really no other way to kind of spin this, is that it is going to be distracting, but at the same time, it could be motivating for them as well, just to show that they do have a lot of talent on this team. They do. They have a rookie #1 draft pick quarterback in Caleb Williams and all these veterans surrounding him in order to make this team great and to make it thrive, which is honestly what the Bears should have been doing in the first place all these years later. I think they're finally going to at least get it right for TV.
Yeah, well, we forget GM Ryan Poles. He's going to get some FaceTime as well. That's gone without saying. I saw someone, and I read this in an article. Someone said this yesterday, Lakina. I forgot to mention it at the top. I'll bring it to the congregation featuring Christine. Backup quarterback Tyson Bagent. How much camera time you think he's going to get, especially with his famous father being an arm wrestling champion, I think 28 times?
I think he's got a look. He gave a lot of confidence to that team last year when Fields was injured and he was getting back to being healthy. Tyson Bagent, he really showed a lot of the football community, his team, and just the NFL in general, that he does have what it takes to potentially move up a little bit in the ranks when it comes to his position and getting more time, more quality time like that. And it shows that he has a lot of passion too, even though he's down on the list when it comes to starters. It shows that he has strong passion, not just for this organization, but for the game in general.
Now, one more question about this before we move on. Now, the whole thing with the Bears is that I already asked you about it rather not being a distraction, but do you think that maybe that whole thing with with Caleb Williams and Roma Dunze, and of course, you got that one guy that might come out of nowhere. Do you think in the draft picks? I said the guy from Hinsdale Central from Yale. Yeah, that he might be kind of like the breakout star. So do you think a guy like that can kind of be kind of like the star? Because there's always that one guy that kind of comes out of nowhere.
Sure, and I think with the Bears, there's a lot of possibilities there, especially with a lot of faces that here in Chicago we're familiar with, but maybe not necessarily to fans that aren't Bears fans, the football fans that aren't Bears fans. So there's definitely a lot of potential. I mean, when the roster came out and they did their cute little schools in session video, I loved it. I know people had different opinions on it, but I was laughing pretty much the entire time. Did Eberflus overact in it? He was trying to figure out how he would maybe be in Hard Knocks potentially. Maybe they already knew it at that point that could be a possibility. But I think there's definitely a lot of guys who are going to perform well on the field and off the field that we're going to get a chance to see during Hard Knocks.
All right, we're joined by our girl, Miss Christine the Queen Manika, right here on the Friday edition of Second City Sports on Chicago. Sid Lakina hanging out here with you. Christine, let's switch over to the NBA playoffs. The finals will start next Thursday, 6 days from now, as of this live broadcast. It will feature the Boston Celtics with home court advantage against the Dallas Mavericks. Of course, Dallas finished their series last night, beating the Minnesota Timberwolves pretty handily to close out the series in 5. Of course, the Boston Celtics swept the Indiana Pacers this past Monday, so they're enjoying some time off. They'll practice again this weekend and then getting ready for preparations for the NBA Finals next week. Well, what do you think about these two teams? So do you expect to see a great NBA Finals series?
I think that, first of all, with the series with Dallas and Minnesota is definitely going to be back. We were talking a lot about how Anthony Edwards basically made the unofficial slogan in Minnesota now, bring your ass to Minnesota, which is it's hilarious. But I definitely think that's a team with a lot of talent, a lot of young talent, and it's something that got Minnesota fans around here something to cheer about in the last 20-something years. While the Bulls are just kind of waiting for something good to happen at this point. So I know that they'll be back in the postseason, whether it's next year or the years to come. We can expect to see them. And as far as Dallas and the Celtics go, I can see them both putting up a fight. I could see this going to a game 7 potentially. It's great to see that Kyrie Irving is kind of not coming back to real reality, but coming back to his own reality. You can really tell that he's kind of humbled himself over this last season, especially after all his controversy over the years. So it's nice to kind of see him being a basketball player, just being a player for his team.
Since we aren't doing our predictions yet, now if you want to do a prediction, you can. What do you think? You said 7 games, so who do you think has the edge, Mavs or Celtics?
I think the Mavs. I think because Boston in itself, when you talk about the Celtics, just so many memories, so many legends came out of that organization. And I think now it's time for a little bit of a shift. Boston's been dominating for years, and I think it's time to get Dallas back up to the top.
So officially, you have Dallas in 7. Can we mark that down?
I think so. Yeah, I think Dallas in 7.
Okay.
Right.
Me and Lakina said we'll give our predictions on Monday because the series starts next Thursday. So, but I do agree with you, Christine. It's going to be a long series. I think a lot of people are going to be surprised how Dallas plays, and we'll see what happens. Before we get to other topics, I want to touch on golf because I know you're an expert at that, along with your now husband, Chris. We had a golfer pass away last weekend. Lakina, I forgot to mention this as well on our show on Wednesday. Scotty Scheffler, all them charges from the tournament last week, they've been dropped.
Yep.
First your thoughts, Christine, then Lakina.
Oh boy, which way do you want to go with? Because one of them's a heavier topic than the other.
Whatever you want.
Boy, I think we'll start off with the heavy stuff first. What happened to Gracie Murray? It's tragic. It's unfortunate, and it definitely shows a a spotlight on the sport that not a lot of people get to see. We've seen a lot of guys come out and say, it does get lonely on the road. This is just you out there on the field playing for yourself, not playing for a team, not playing for a coach. You're playing for yourself. And it just shows how taxing it can be. These guys are literally playing for a paycheck every single week. That's way different than what you see in baseball, hockey, football, whatever the sport is. This is truly based on your performance and how you do for that week. And it can be mentally a lot on a guy. And unfortunately, we saw that with Grayson Murray. And my heart goes out to his family, his friends that are really feeling this loss right now. I know Chris and I know a guy that's currently caddying on tour right now, and he got to know Grayson a little bit, and he said it's just kind of a numb feeling right now. And I think golfers and just the PGA in general are finally recognizing that mental health is a thing for these guys, and it's great that it's a topic to talk about, because no one really likes to talk about that kind of stuff. So it's good to get a conversation going for sure.
Yeah, I talked about, I shared my thoughts on Wednesday. I mean, it was just unfortunate. I mean, like you said, Christine, Murray was actually very upfront about his various mental issues. He also had issues with alcohol. Now, like I said, he did win a tournament early this year in Hawaii.
Yep.
I think the Sony Open.
Yep.
Unfortunately, some other stuff that happened. I won't get into it. Like I said, I always say Google's your friend, folks. But it's just tragic. And like you said, I think it's good that the PGA is kind of recognized that, hey, look, these guys, it is lonely out there on the course. You have your caddy, but he or she can only do so much. So I'm hoping they can kind of start some type of like maybe a mental, like kind of like a mental like health awareness, month or something for the PGA and all the other golf tours. Remember Lexi Thompson. I mean, she's only 28 years old, although she's been around forever, but she's retired because of mental issues as well on the LPGA tour side. So it is really a huge issue here. Now, as far as the Scheffler stuff, I kind of figured this was going to happen, especially once the video came out about him allegedly dragging that officer and such. We can talk about all the other parameters and stuff like that. That's not really a time to talk about it. But I hope Scheffler does sue. I don't know if he's going to do that, but I'm sure hope he does sue, because it sounds like these guys kind of overstepped. So I'll just leave it there. But I kind of figured that was going to happen. What do you think, Christine?
Yeah, I mean, knowing the type of guy that Scottie Scheffler is, even after his statement that he released after the charges were dropped, I don't see him immediately pursuing legal action when it comes to suing the department and whatnot. I think Scottie's going to do what Scottie's going to do. He has had mentally, as we talk about mental health, mentally, he's had a rough couple of weeks. And on top of that, he just became a new dad. So I think right now, again, knowing Scottie's personality a little bit, he's going to be a dad, be a golfer, and let this kind of cool off for a little bit. And Scottie's such a headstrong guy, just because he's so confident in himself and who he is as a player. And that statement that he released, that just screams the type of guy that he is. And we figured that the charges were going to be dropped too for this situation, this matter. It was a very heated situation. A lot of different emotions going at the time, because it doesn't hide from the fact that someone did die that day. Yeah. And that's kind of where this whole issue stemmed from in the first place. So hearts and prayers go to that guy's family, and just hopefully everyone, Scottie, the officer, they can all heal from the situation. And regardless of what you think about the officer or not, he's still a person. He still has feelings, and mistakes happen.
Thank goodness for the video, especially in Scottie Scheffler's case, because if it wasn't, things would be a whole lot different right now. Before we get to baseball, Christine, I want to give a shout out to the Chicago Sky for the first time, the second time this year, I should say. They're at 500 at 3-3. They did defeat the Los Angeles Sparks at Wintrust Arena here in Chicago last night, 83-73. Angel Reese had 6 points and 6 rebounds and three assists. Christine, I don't know how much you kept up with the WNBA. I know that Caitlin Clark has been given a tough time. I think some of it has been unfair because many people expected her to be the quote unquote savior of the league. We all know the Indiana Fever are not that good. They're the worst team in the league. But I'll focus in on the Chicago Sky first. Lakina, I said this on our show since the season started. I said it on our show on Wednesday. New head coach Teresa Weatherspoon. I know they're without Camila Cardoso, but I like the way this team plays. They're going to give it to you 40 minutes every night. And whether they go to the playoffs or not, they're going to make you earn every keep each minute you play against them this year. I like the way the Chicago Sky are playing right now.
I'm still waiting for the Amazon's debut. That's my nickname for her just because she's so tall. I mean, any WNBA player is taller than me at this point, but she's just so talented. The way that Cardoso just attacks the board and just gives it her all with her body, whether she fouls someone or not. I just think she's going to be such a powerful asset to the Chicago Sky. And same thing with Angel Reese. She is quite the shooter. She's a great defender. And I've seen a little bit of the games here and there, and I think she's going to be a strong asset for the team for years to come. I was very excited when not only the Sky got Cardoso, but also Angel Reese, because I didn't think that was going to happen. And I'm like, wow, you're getting some of the best players in college basketball history in Chicago, and I think that's awesome. As far when it comes to Caitlin Clark and everybody giving her a hard time, you knew going into the WNBA, and she probably knew too, that she already had a target on her back. Everyone's going to defend her hard. Everyone has seen her play during her time at Iowa. They know her sweet spots. They know where she's going to shoot. And that's the tough part when all the cameras and the spotlight are on you when it comes to being on the court, because they already know where you're going to do. So I think it's up to Caitlin now to figure out how is she going to adjust her game, because like any other sport, whether it's the WNBA, NFL, NBA, whatever, it's not the same as how you played in college. You got to find some ways to change up your game a little bit. And I think right now, Caitlin Clark is a perfect example of that.
Almost got a little chippy yesterday against the Storm. I think she kind of got into it with Jewel Lloyd. They kind of got nose to nose, and I think Aaliyah Boston had to kind of like pull her back. So Lord knows what would have happened had she not have intervened. But
and I think that. I was going to say, and I think, people give her a hard time for being a little bit chippy, but that's just sports. We see it all the time with some of the big athletes in the NBA, NFL, whatever. And I think everyone has this whole certain image of her where it's like, it's still sports. You're still going to get heated. And some people, during the whole Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark little heated debate when it came to the finals a couple of years ago, everyone was, kind of giving heat to Angel Reese for going after her when Caitlin Clark did the same thing the week before the game. So, everyone has their own opinion, but you just got to know, what the line is when it comes to it, I guess is what I'm saying.
And the Fever and the Sky and the Fever host the Sky tomorrow at 11 a.m. on ESPN. Yep. So we'll see if anything happens there. But you guys check that game out tomorrow. As I can see sports on Sports of Chicago. Lakina McGee, Cindy Brown, our girl KXRB's Christine Manika. I want to bring down the mood for a little bit for a second. But the White Sox, they went 0-4 in their homestand. They
don't call it a streak.
Yeah. I mean, the wrong kind of streaking, as I say. So, do you have anything to say about the White Sox, or we just move right on to the rest of baseball?
Nah, that's fine. We don't have to mention anything about those White Sox. Jeez. Hopefully, by the time I'm gonna go catch a game later on in June, so hopefully they can get their act together by then.
I don't know if Christine caught this clip before we move on. I don't know if Christine caught this clip, but this past Monday during the first game of that Toronto series, I don't know if you heard this or not, A few fans started chanting, "Bring back Ozzy, bring back Ozzy." I don't know if you caught that. See,
Gosh,
make you smile already.
they always do that though, and I think this happens every season when something doesn't go the fans' way. They always chant, "Bring back Ozzy." I wanted to bring back Ozzy a couple of years ago when they were throwing his name out there, and I think I saw something from NBC Sports Chicago when they were doing their little game recap, midway game recap. And Chuck told Ozzy, "Oh, by the way, they've lost 7 in a row at home," and he had no idea that was even a thing, let alone a record in the franchise.
Yeah, kind of crazy how that kind of shook out. Like, I don't even know. I don't know if Jerry would want Ozzy back. I'm sure Ozzy has said he would come back, but I
I'm
don't know that.
sure.
Yeah, but I don't know. We'll see what happens there now. Off to a little bit of a college football here for a second. Northwestern sent their renderings for their temporary Lakeside football stadium. They'll host games for the next 2 seasons, including this upcoming season in 2025. The renderings kind of look a little bit weird. I mean, you look at they're right by the lake. If you guys saw the renderings, you can check it out on go on social on Google and such. But I don't know if they're going to be able to play these kind of games in November and December, where the lake's going to be a little bit cold. It might be icy and it might be freezing, and I think some of the opposing coaches may not want to play in those
Too bad.
conditions. But what do you guys think about the renderings, Christine? I'll start with you.
I mean, I think it looks pretty cool. If teams don't want to come out and play football in the Midwest in November or December when it's freezing out, too bad. Tough it out. Like, if you're going to be in the NFL, that you're just going to have to go to all these different cold, warm, medium places, whatever. So suck it up. You're fine.
That's why we love Christine. I do agree with Christine on this part. It does look good. I know this areas are subject to change, but call me crazy, but you're going to tell me that Northwestern is going to get approval on their renderings of a new stadium over the Bears? I just don't see it. I know they're 2 totally different things as a college team versus a pro team, but you're going to sit there and tell me that Northwestern is going to get a quote-unquote easy approval? I don't see it. Not over the Bears, no.
Oh, no, not at all.
It'll be interesting. It's a good way to boost their image, though, after the last couple of years. That's probably what they're thinking.
Yeah, that's probably. Yeah, I think that's probably what they're thinking too. So yeah, to be continued, as they say. Now, a little NFL here. If you guys remember the name Gable Stevenson, of course, national championship wrestler from Minnesota. Of course, won the gold medal a couple years ago in Tokyo. He is now going to try his hand at football. He signed with the Bills to play defensive tackle. So, Sal, I'll start with you. What do you think about this news?
It's a shock to me. I didn't hear anything about this.
Yeah, literally just came across the rise about an hour ago.
Okay. Wow. So, yeah. Interesting things are happening there. So, we'll see what happens. We'll definitely be following this story for sure. Hopefully this person makes it.
I think I remember an interview that he said that they did try to recruit him to play football, but I guess he told him he probably wasn't going to be able to the time of it, so that's why he didn't. So I guess I think he has said he always wanted to play football, so we'll see if he can kind of make that NFL dream come true. Look, Bob Hayes did it years ago with Dallas, so we'll see. Should be interesting.
I say, you know what? Jordan did baseball. Garth Brooks did baseball. Let him try it. Why not?
You know what this reminds me of real quick, Lakina?
What?
I know we heard this story a couple years ago. He didn't make it, obviously, but remember he died in 1984. The old school Motown singer Marvin Gaye, he tried out for the Lions but didn't make it.
Yes, I remember that. Yep. Oh, yeah. It's kind of a similar situation there. Yeah, kind of a situation there.
Thank goodness he stuck to singing, though.
Yeah. Yeah, probably should have. Now, a little bit of sports media news. It looks like the NBA will no longer be on TNT after next season. Let's remember, folks, it's after next season, not after this season. I know people were saying, "Oh, it's the other." No. They've got one more season next season. But apparently, I guess David Zaslav, who's the CEO of Warner Bros. Discovery, could have had a handshake deal early last year. It's like a $200 million difference, like 2.3. They could have figured it out. This is according to Bloomberg. So, what do you guys think? I mean, I guess it confirms Barkley's comments about him and the other brass just not being very happy with people not being happy with them.
Yeah, it will be interesting. I mean, for as long as I can remember, NBA has always been on TNT, so it's a change. It's definitely going to be interesting to see what it looks like in the couple seasons from now. But that's media. That's sports. Things are always changing, and you just kind of gotta roll with the punches a little bit.
As we talked about leading up to this, Lakina, the NBA is the last team of the 4 major pros leagues here in America that they'll be involving with streaming. Of course, ESPN will keep their A package, and there'll be some playoff games that'll be on Amazon Prime, I believe, along with Peacock and ESPN starting in less than 2 years. But this would be good for NBC. You could put a few games on the over-the-air broadcast. You're definitely going to have some exclusive games on the Peacock, their streaming service. So, but I think the question is, which talents is going to move over to NBC? Everybody talking about, well, you should move the whole inside the NBA on TNT crew to NBC and Peacock. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but we have a year and some change to figure these things out.
Well, they got a big, deep roster over NBC. Like I said, we talked about our buddy Noah Eagle. Of course, he's going to be doing the Olympic basketball broadcast this summer. So I think he'll have some practice there. So could be a lot of moving. Might be some moving parts here. But like I said, I think really the main thing is going to be the Amazon part. I don't think it's like I said. I think you're not going to see Kevin Harlan eyeing Eagle. They're not going to go to NBC because they still got other commitments with college hoops and the NFL. So Amazon, that'll probably be kind of like the name to watch out for among those folks.
All right, we'll see what happens there. We have a couple of minutes left with our girl, Miss Christine, the Queen Manika for KXRB in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. She's hanging out with us here on the Friday edition of Second City Sports on Chicago. Sid Lakina here with you. We talked about this earlier, Lakina. We talked about baseball. Jorge Lopez, the now ex-reliever of the New York Mets. Christine, I don't know if you saw this on Wednesday. It was a bad call against them as the New York Mets were swept by the Los Angeles Dodgers in Queens, New York. Mr. Lopez disagreed with the call with the umpire. The umpire ejected him. He tossed his mitt in the ball into the stands, and then after the game, he was he wasn't not remorseful at all. He defended his actions, showing up his teammates and showing up the organization, which led to the New York Mets releasing him. What did you think about those actions on Wednesday, and what was the worst meltdown you have ever seen in sports by a player or a coach?
Yeah, I did not see that, but I guess the top of my head, the meltdown, there's a couple of them. I guess with even before the game, because I remember this clearly, we were driving to the cell at the time, US Cellular, and we heard on the radio that Chris Sale wasn't going to be starting. And we're like, what? Well, what's going on there? They scratched him out. And then we later found out it's because he ripped up the jerseys for throwback night, that he didn't want to wear the jersey. So that's one of the bigger meltdowns. How can you not talk about AJ Przinsky flipping off his helmet and all of a sudden you see this beach blonde hair come out from underneath it? That was pretty iconic, I think. I'm trying to think. There's been a couple of times that Ozzy's gone off the handle. And I think, what was it? Maybe it was about a month ago. There was the manager with the Yankees. He was given a sign and the ump threw him out of the game or something like that. I forget what team it was, but that was a pretty big meltdown, I think, too.
For me, it was a couple of old school meltdowns, of course. I'm trying to think. I think it was like in the mid to late '90s when Bobby Valentine, then the manager of the Mets, he was kicked out of the game. Then he came back, try to put on like some type of weird disguise.
Oh, I remember that. Yes,
boy,
mustache, and I don't know. I think he put something else like over his like head or something like that. It didn't work because I guess the ump who threw him out saw him, so that whole thing was kind of weird. And also too, George Brett. I mean, remember the pine tar? I know you at least have heard about it. It's good, Christian. This is way before your time, but the pine tar is there where the ump at that game, saw the pine tar, and of course, he threw Brett out, and he kind of just went nuts, and it was just like he kind of, it was basically like it was pure gold. Had social media been around back then, that would have been viral for sure. So those are like the two that I think of when I think of like player meltdowns or managerial meltdowns in this case, in the first case.
Look, Christine, you could look this up on YouTube and ask your parents. Lakina, we saw this as kids. Remember the now late great LA Dodgers manager Tommy Lasorda? He had some classic meltdowns, especially during that 77-78 World Series against the Yankees.
Yep.
There you go.
Yes. And leave it at that. I'm also say ask your dad about it, Christine, or even your mom too. I know you said she's also a baseball fan. Yeah. Or look up on YouTube. It's right there. It's right there. You'll thank us later. Anything
all right, Christine. Yeah, exactly.
Sports, guys, I mean, anything?
Bueller.
Anything?
Well, Christine, I'll ask you about this. What did you think about the Cubs losing 3-4 in Milwaukee?
Well, it's Milwaukee. I said that they were going to be good this year, and so far my prediction is proving right. And at least they're not the White Sox, so at least they have wins.
Well, they face the White Sox next week, so go
Lord
White
help
Sox.
us. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh God. But also, I want to give a quick shout out to we got the college baseball. They're starting their tournament this weekend, and also the Women's College World Series is commencing over in Omaha. I know they're on the losers bracket now. You got Maya Brady, of course, who's Tom Brady's niece, top player from UCLA. Texas is is like the number one overall seed the country. I think they've been up for like the last couple of months. Also, Marissa Young from Duke. Duke making their first appearance in the Women's College World Series was kind of weird if you think about it, but I guess it makes sense. Also, she's the first African American coach, to male or female, to debut.
I saw that. Congratulations to her.
Women's College World Series. Yeah, that's pretty cool, right? It's kind of weird that wasn't the case, but so a lot of this are happening. So if you guys are big college softball fans, check that out all weekend on the ESPN networks.
It's more about the ping and less bling. Remember that promotion years ago, Lakina?
Oh, yes. I'm surprised somebody brings that back.
Yep. Nice sound of a nice aluminum bat.
Exactly. Oh, yeah. You're going to be seeing a lot of runs on the men's side, too. So check that out. You follow my Keita McGee on the Twitter, X, and Keita's going to get in the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sydney Brown, on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. Christine, where can the lovely people follow you on social media?
They can follow me at @Manika_KXRB.
And you still have that bird?
Oh, yes.
He's not letting the birds not letting go of her, as they say. You can catch Second City Sports every Monday and Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. One more time, noon to 2 p.m. every Monday and Friday. Sports on Chicago right there on the Facebook and YouTube channels.
And don't forget, you can catch Sports on Chicago live and in living color 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year on Roku TV.
All right, folks. Enjoy all the sports. Of course, you got a week before the NBA Finals, so watch some hockey, watch some WNBA, watch some Women's College World Series, and the college baseball. Their tournaments starting tonight, so check those out as well to get you guys going before the NBA Finals start on Thursday.
Yep. It should be a lot of fun. It is going to be raining here tomorrow in Chicago, so a nice way to stay and catch up on all your sports.
Exactly. So for Christine and Sid, I'm Lakina. This is Second City Sports on Sports in Chicago. Be safe, enjoy the sports, and we'll talk to you next week.
Da Bears, holla!